You're listening to Fire Ecology Chats, a podcast series by the Association for Fire Ecology.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bob Keane. I'm the editor-in-chief of the internationally renowned journal Fire Ecology. Today on this podcast, we are very pleased to have two incredible speakers talking about the paper Roles of Fire in Plant Communities of Eastern Edwards Plateau of Texas. Today we have Norma Fowler and Rebecca Carden here. Norma, would you introduce yourself and tell us about your affiliation?
I'm a professor in the Department of Integrated Biology at the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm a plant ecologist and plant conservation biologist.
Thank you. And Rebecca?
I'm a graduate student in Norma Fowler's lab in the plant biology program at University of Texas at Austin.
That is great. Thank you, both of you, for being here and talking about your paper today, a paper I thoroughly enjoyed. I wonder, Norma, if you could give us a small little recap of what the paper is all about.
Well, it's a review paper, and it's reviewing the roles of fire in savannas and woodlands of the Eastern Edwards Plateau in central Texas. That's an area about the size of New Jersey. There's general agreement that the savannas in our region were created and maintained by fire, just like savannas everywhere in the country. But until very recently, everybody has assumed that the only fires in the woodlands were very destructive crown fires. We have a proposal, a hypothesis, that the surface fires, these woodlands once had surface fires, and specifically that the surface fires kept the woodland canopies more open. That promoted oak regeneration, which is failing now, and it would have increased and supported native plant diversity. So a lot more than that in the paper, but I think that's probably the most interesting part.
It is very interesting. It goes against a lot of people's intuition and feeling. And I was especially interested in what the management applications would be. Rebecca, can you tell me about that?
I think that the management implications or applications would be potentially trying to reintroduce surface fire into some woodlands, particularly woodlands that have oaks, in order to try to stimulate oak regeneration and address that really pressing management concern. It's possible that managers would be able to put surface fire on the ground there, with conditions as is, or it's also possible that managers might have to do a combination of thinning and prescribed burning treatments in order to really get those oaks to regenerate.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. It looked like a paper that involved a lot of people and a lot of time and effort. Are there anybody you'd like to acknowledge or talk about?
Absolutely. This paper summarizes a big chunk of my career, actually, for the past decades. So lots, not just Rebecca here, but a lot of former graduate students have worked on this. I can call out Christina Andruck, Leland Russell, who did the basic work on deer and oaks. On savannas, we have Margaret Batchelor, Jill Noel, Anna Gonzalez. Savannas and KR bluestem is something I've worked on in invasive grass and on native endangered species. And I also want to shout out to all our collaborators. Most of our work has been done at Balcones Canyonlands National Wildlife Refuge. And a lot of our papers actually have as co-authors Carl Schwope, Jim Muller, Scott Rowan. Those are wonderful people to work with. They're collaborators. They're not just providing sites for us. But I also want to shout out to the staffs of everywhere we've worked, not just the refuge, but state parks and university land and so forth. Over the years, it's been NSF, it's been Texas Parks and Wildlife, it's been USDA, it's been U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, it's been the University of Texas. So funders, of course.
It really does take a village, doesn't it? One of the things I was really interested in is the methods as well, Rebecca. How about those methods? Can you give us a quick thumbnail sketch of that?
This is like a review paper without quantitative analysis, but we had a really great time reading the literature from this region, Edwards Plateau in central Texas, and putting it in the context of surface fire, woodland literature that's been written about extensively in the eastern and central United States. So we're really comparing this region and what woodland surface fires would look like here to the way that woodland surface fires have been conceived and written about elsewhere in the country.
How many citations do you think are in the paper?
That's a great question. I would say maybe 150.
Wow. Obviously a must-read paper for a lot of people who are interested in fire, especially in Texas. Norma, do you have anything else to add?
What we're proposing, that there's a role for surface fire, is novel and controversial here in Central Texas. It is really not novel and controversial in the oak forests of the Ozarks, and much of the north central and northeastern US, where lots of people are working on this and they're actually doing it. Like Hoosier National Forest, for example, doing a wonderful job. My final thought would be that I hope folks here in Central Texas will give this serious consideration, especially people who are concerned about oak regeneration, and that includes the bird people, our endangered warbler. They've been very scared of fire in the woodlands, but this is controversial, and my final thought is I hope folks give it a serious consideration.
And Rebecca, have you got anything else you'd like to talk about?
Thank you so much for having us, and thanks for listening to the podcast.
Well, I surely appreciate it. Thanks for taking your time and effort and creating this wonderful paper and then giving us this podcast today. I really appreciate it. I know the Association for Fire Ecology appreciates it, and Springer does as well. And again, I'd like to thank you for a wonderful talk. This is Bob Keane. If you want to read this paper, guess what? It's available for free on our website. You can download it anytime you want. Love to have you come and read this paper. See you, everybody, on our next podcast, Fire Ecology Chats.